In today's video, we are going to be looking into a road network that involves two traffic intersections. Over time, we have been able to set up a model or simulation of one traffic intersection having four parts of the road, but this time around, we will be having two traffic intersections in the road network. And also, we are going to be importing a satellite map. We already have the satellite map saved on the desktop. So the first thing we have to do is to import the satellite map into our window. And in order to do that, we go under the presentation, we click on image, we drag it into the window. So here's the map, just click on it, then open it. So this is the image. So this is what it looks like. So what we're trying to do from this is to be able to create a road network that leads from the north to the south and from the west to the east. So we have one point of intersection here, and we also have another point of intersection here. So that makes it 2 point of intersection. So we want to be able to create a road network on this satellite image. So without wasting much time, let us just edit some of the properties of this image. The first thing is that we check our roller here. We can just drag it into the layout. Yeah, from when if we zooming in at this point, you see the is about 120 feet. So having this here, we can also set ours for 120 feet. Going under the properties of the scale, then change to 120, not in meters but instead feet. So we have it set as that. So the next thing we're going to be doing is we have to lock the image. So go under the properties of the image of the satellite map or the image itself, then we can lock it. So we have this. So this is what we have. So the first thing we're going to be doing after all this is to draw our road network or to draw our road. And from what we have here, you can decide to draw the first road from the north to the south. You can draw a road from the north to the south. Then afterwards, we can add the other part of the road to this network or to this satellite image or this layout. So, so here we go on. We have it under the road traffic library. We have a road. We double click. Or for the sake of this, let me just. So from this image now, you can just double click. Then I can draw this straight line. So we have something something like this. Then we can change or edit the properties of the road. So the first thing we have to do here is increase it 4 lanes, number of forward and backward lanes, 4 lanes and 4 lanes. So and we have to be able to create a median strip width, which is we can leave for 10 meters. So, but we don't want to leave it as green, the default color. So we have to change the texture. We can change it to grass. Then click on the grass. This is the grass. Then click OK. So, so we already have that in. So the next thing we are going to do is to introduce for the other lens. But before we do that, even if I decide to zoom in, no. So the next thing we're going to do is also to introduce other parts of the road. So in order to do that, you click on the road. So what we want to do is introduce the west road here. So here we have it. So we keep editing to make sure until we get our desired point of intersection. So from what we can see here, if we try to zoom it in a bit, so this is what we have. So if we still want to edit, we can just drag it gradually. Yes. So when we have something like this, if we want to also. So this is what we have at the point of intersection. So we'll still come back to edit the properties or the connections here. So we go back to the other part of the road. So here also we also do the same thing. So but here when we were creating this road, it is from the west to the east because this is meant to be one way. So we can just go under the properties. We want that to be a one-way road. So but having So this is to, I must still come back to edit this. So this is what we have. We also do the same for this. Also one way. So this is what we have afterwards. Then we also do the same here. Create a new road. So if you also want to extend this, you can extend it like this. So then after doing that, we also, sorry, since this one is from the west to the east, when we're creating for this, the first one we did is from the west to the east. But when we're creating for the second, it will be from the east to the west. So that will be a backward lane. So I have to delete this. I have to delete this particular. So that means I will have to start it from the east to the west. So we have that. Then also on this side. So we create that. So this we can just shift it down a bit. So we also increase this to make it a one lane, one way, and increase the number of forward lanes to 4. So this also will do the same thing. One way, then increase the number of forward lanes to also 4. So this is what we have. So at this point, we can move this. So we have this connection here also. The same connection, just the same way we have for this. So we can decide to move this a bit to just narrow. So this is what we have afterwards. So this is how we create the, so if we still want to extend, we can extend the road network this way. And also do it on the other side if we also want to do the same. So this is just a sample. This is how the road network is, the one we've been able to create. So, but the next thing we're going to be doing at this point is to be able to edit the connections at the point of intersection. I did the properties here, and also I did the properties here. We can edit this based on the kind of road network we want to create. So it all depends. There is a lot of conditions requirement. There is a lot of things you have to take into consideration at this point. It depends on the city, depends on the road, it depends on the network we're trying to create. So, but for the sake of what we're doing here today, we would create this based on one of the most realistic kind of road intersections that we can have. So, at this point, we have the movement from the west to the east, which is a one way. So there can only be movement from the west to the east, and there can only be movement from the north to the south. Though we have it the two way for the north to the south, but one way from the west to the east or the east to the west. So in this kind of situation, if we want to edit these first properties, we can have, let us take out the U-turn lane, and let us take out two of the left turn lanes. So we have this, so we can have a true lane and the left turn lane. Then this is also the true lane and also true lane. This is a true lane. We cannot have a left turn lane because it's a one-way road. So that is all we can have at this point. Then for when we want to edit this, we can have, so we can just reduce this to two, just so of that. We have the true lane. We also have a true lane and the right turn lane for this, because here is it has the forward lane and the backward lane for the road from the north to the south. Then we move to the next one. For this, we can have the true lane and the right turn lane. The true lane, just the true lane here. So let's take this out. This is also a true lane, and here is also a true lane and a left turn lane. So we have the connections that way. Then the last part here, we have the true lane, then the right turn lane, true lane. Yes. So let's take out all the U-turn lanes. So this is what we have at the end. So this is what we have. So we do the same thing for the next one. So here we have the, let's start from there. So since they're still coming through this place, we take out all the, just to be sure we've taken out everything. Okay. 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 This is okay. And at this point we have the right turn lane here going, because this is the direction. Then the next properties we will be editing is should be this. This is a true lane, also true lane, but it can also go in the right turn lane, true lane. Then we also have a true lane then coming to the left turn lane. So for this one, we can just take out two of this. So for this, we'll take out all the U-turn lanes. Then this. So this is what we have at the end of the day, which is very much similar to what we also have here. So we have one, then two. Okay, this is meant to be two. So this is the connection. So we have been able to create the connections to these two point of intersection. This is one intersection, and this is another intersection. So the next thing we'll be able to do at this point, or the next thing we can do, is to bring in our our traffic flow logic, our flow chart logic. So we can bring in our flow chart logic. Yeah, I'm just trying to see how we can extend this a little bit, just to be able to create a room for proper movement. In order to do that, so this is what we have. This is what it's gonna look like. What it's looking like now. So the next thing we have to do is to bring in our flow charts logic, introduce our blocks. In order to do that, so we'll bring in our flow charts. So for each of every of the connections we have here, we can see that there are about three possible road movements. At this point, we know we can have a left turn lane, a through lane. We have it here, we have it here. Then we also have a right turn lane. So that means for every road, there are three possible movements, that there are three possible connection of roads, either going through the right turn lane or the through lane or the left turn lane, just like what we can see here. So that means when we're trying to set up our flow charts, we need to be able to take that into consideration. So here we have it, the first one. And since there is multiple connections, that means we cannot use our select output. We have to use the select output 5. Select output 5, which gives us the multiple connections within. So at this point, we can connect this to this. No, sorry. So what we should have in between should be car move 2. So we have our car move 2. So this is what we have. But as we said, from each of the source, there are three possible movements. So that means we must have more than one car move 2. We are going to be having three movements. So this is what we'll be having. But before we proceed with this, let us go ahead and I define our roads. So here we can decide this as the south road. So I think I prefer the cardinals a lot. I love using north, south, east, and west a lot. So let's just call this road S, which is the south road. Then yeah, I'm gonna call this the north road, road north. All this helps us to be able to have a proper identification of those roads. So here is the first. We have two east road here, west road. This is one, and we also have another one here. So what we can do is name the first one. So west one. Call this the road west one. So here we have the road east one. Road east one. We can proceed to name this road west two. And this will also be road east two. So we've been able to name all our roads, so which makes it very easy for us to set up our flowchart logic. So at this point, where are we starting from? Let's start from the west to the east from the first road. So that means for the source. So when we bring out the properties, we have the west. So this is for the west one. So here we have it, the west one. So we've been able to, this is our west one. So leading to the east one. So that is, this is the west one going to the east one. So the car move to, definitely we have to set it up as moving to east one on what road? On the east one road. So the end of the forward lane, because it's just a one lane, is a one way. So we'll leave that. Then we can close this. So we come under the select. Before we even go to the select output, we connect this. So so we have been able to connect it all, and we've been able to configure the first one. So our select output file, we also need to edit the properties over there. So we have to take out the last two probabilities, since we are only making use of three probabilities or three connections. So we can define it based on the information we have on that particular network. So but for the sake of this, I'll be using 0 0.3, 0 0.4, 0 0.3, 0 0.3, saying that we're going to be having more probabilities of vehicles moving from the west road 1 to the east road 1 compared to the right turn lane and the left turn lane. So that is just what this is all about. So then we edit the properties of this. So so we have it car move to, that we have to quickly confirm that. So what is our car move to definition here? So if this is the west road, we are moving from the west road to the east road. We can also have it going to the north road and also going to the south road. So the north road and the south road. So so for the first one, we can edit it to north. Then we have the south. So this is the possible connections we can have. So at this point, if we decide to run the simulation, then we can say how this works. So let's just try that before we just run the rest. We do the the chart flow for the rest. So let's see how this works. We can see the movement of vehicles coming from the west road to they go through the right turn lane, the through lane, and the left turn lane. So you can see here the left turn lane, some going through the through lane, and here also to the right turn lane. So we can see the movement of those vehicles. So that means that whatever thing we have done, we did a good job. So let us proceed. So we're going to be running that with the rest. So I won't have to keep testing the simulation to see if anything is done right. So we'll just have to run everything so it can be much more faster. So at this point, now there are some cases, and I think this is another thing that I need to address. There are some cases whereby when there is movement from the west road going to the north road, and maybe there is a sense of congestion, or maybe probably the road is not wide enough to accommodate those vehicles. You get an error message, and that shows that if there are too many vehicles coming from the west leading to the north that as it does not have the capacity of it going to the north, then it gives an error message. So how do we deal with that kind of scenario? What we need to do is you can connect that whenever vehicles coming from the west can't have a breakthrough to the north, they can just continue on the east road rather than maybe leading to a level of congestion. Maybe probably they have to use an alternative road in the ahead or something like that. So how do we give that instruction in our model that when that happens, then we need to be able to those vehicles from the west road can just continue on the east road rather than causing that level of congestion on the north road or whether on the south road. In the previous video, I've also explained something like this when we're looking into the parking lot. So the moment we notice that the capacity of the parking lot is about maybe 5 or 7 and it is already at maximum, rather than other vehicles trying to also wait on the road and causing congestion, or probably we get an error message in the course of the simulation. Rather than doing that, we can set it up in a way whereby the moment they notice that the parking lot is filled up, we can continue on the road rather than not giving that instruction for that vehicle to know what to do next. So in this kind of scenario, if we experience that also with vehicles coming from the west that wants to head to the north or the south road, and there is that level of there is that problem, what we need to do is just to create this connector. So we just need to be able to have this connector here that leads up this way. So showing that at any point where there is a form of so it can continue. Vehicles that are meant to stay at move at the north road or go into the north road, but there is no space for to accommodate them, they can continue on the east road. So that is what this connection is. So we are going to be doing all this for every of the other roads, just in case if that happens. But if it doesn't happen, then we'll keep having our free flow movement of the vehicles or of the simulation. The reason why I'm creating the select output three possible sources for our select output here is because of the kind of configuration we had for our road. If what I want to create in this scenario, just for example, on this road now, we have movement coming this way. If I don't want a left turn lane, that I only want a true lane, I don't want a right turn lane, I only want a true lane and a left turn lane. Or let's say we only want to have a right turn lane and a true lane. That means I will only be creating two move to can move to instead of three. But because we have a true lane, we have a right turn lane, we also possibly have a left turn lane. That is why we get to create three of those. But if you're making use of two, or probably it's just a true lane, we have to only create one. So it all depends on the movement along that road network that will determine the number of car move to we'll be creating, just as we've been able to do here. So I already have for the west to the east. So now let's go it from the, do we have movement from the east? So that means we have this movement from the east here to the west for the, so this is our W1, this is W2. So that will mean, that means the E2 East Road 2, that is what we are creating the source for. We are creating the source for East Road 2. So for the source of E2, that is East Road 2. So the road is East Road 2. So we have that sorted. Yeah, I think that is it. So we go under the select outputs. We also edit our select outputs. So there are some cases we might even have it this way. Let me just put it more true lane movement than the left or the right one. So it should be 0.6. So it depends on whatever records of the movement along that road we have to be able to design this. So definitely now we are we are having the chart flow for this, that is the true lane, in which that is what we have the right turn lane. So that means we have it going to the, from the east to the west, to the south, and also to the north. So here we have the move to, I did the first one. So the first one is from the east to the west. So that means west 2. So it's going to, sorry, west 2. So that means it's from the east to the west. Then the next one will be to the north. Then before we have that of the south. Movement to the north. So end of backward lane. So here we have to the north. But because we've used the north before, that is why we have this plus sign. So let me just do north north. Then here will be to the south. So south south. So this will just be hand of forward lane. So like what we did here, just in case of there is any form of congestion, so we can just connect this. So we have that. You can also just copy, then maybe paste. Also, if you want to do that. So now we have for the west, we've done for the west, the east. So let's take it from the north to the south. The source here will be the north. So with that being said, the north, I think because we copy and pasted our select output, so the same settings is still what we have there, 0.322. So now from the north to the south, which will be the first one, from the north to the south, so we still have south, we have also the south, so let's make it 3. So the movement from north to south, north, so definitely also from the north to the, let's go back to the layout. So if we have vehicles coming from the north, so there can be movement, to the west road of the first west, but there can be movement to the second west road, so there can be movement to the second west road from the north. So that will be W2. So that is W2. W2. So since we already have it, so let's just keep it that way. So since it's W2, just one word, so we keep that. Then after that we have to the east. So that'll be A1. And so for the last part, so we can go ahead and edit the properties of these also, which is going to be the south. And also, it's very important the arrival rate. We've been using a constant 1000, that is 1000 per hour when it comes to vehicles on the road. If there is any need to alter that, we can also do that at this point, maybe reduce or increase based on whatever information you're given. So I think the select output information is still the same. So from the south, so we have been able to edit the properties. We have the cursors through the select output to can move to the north. Then we move to the next one, which can either be the east or the west. So let's edit also those properties. So this is moving to the, okay, let's say moving to the west. So if it is still the west, but we need to confirm which of the west. Is it the west one or the west two? So let's take it back. So if we're coming from the from the south. This is the south. We're coming from the south this way. Then you can have it this way. So that is the west 2. Because we can't have it to west 1. We can have it to west 2 and also maybe probably west 1 here. But for the sake of this, let's just keep it as at west 2. So we have the east. That should be east 1. So that will be the east 1. So now we've been able to set up the whole configuration. Then we can try to run the model, then see if we have a working model or not. So here it is. We have a working model. You can see everything is going well. No error, no complication. Every point of the intersection. So we have it all sorted out. So which is a good one. So the next step we're going to be looking at in the next part of this video will be the introduction of the traffic light at both the intersection points. Well, we are going to be looking into that in the next video.